10 seconds to showtime. So one last cheers before the show begins. Cheers. By popular demand on tonight's show, we'll be taking a deep dive into the island of St. Thomas with our guest Jason Kasha from ExploreVirginIslands.com. We have the first of the 2018 cruise news. Lucas is back and off on more ships on his 2018 tour with the Life Below Decks. And another fun photo of the week awaits you all as we start a new year here on Cruise Week TV Live. Our show this week is brought to you by the folks at Good Memories Travel and by vMix. Happy 2018, everyone. I'm Joe, your host of the show, where each week we bring on exciting guests from cruise ports and cruise lines to help answer your questions right from the source. Tonight, we're taking a deep dive into the island of St. Thomas and checking in to see how the recovery efforts after the hurricane are progressing with our guest, Jason. And St. Thomas was one of the most asked about places when we asked you guys which ports we should take a deep dive into in 2018. So we're really happy to be starting right at the top. Now remember, the way to get the most out of the show is to get involved. If you're on our Facebook page or on Periscope or YouTube, jump into the chat and the comments and ask questions, and we'll try to answer them right here. We do get to all of the questions, so don't worry if we don't get to yours right away. So start posting your questions, and while you do that, before we talk to Jason, let's take a quick look first at our photo of the week. Now, this week's photo comes from the Royal Caribbean Facebook group, so thanks to everyone out on that group for submitting their photos. And we picked this one because it is definitely different. Now, this was sent in by Shelly Schultz, and I'm not sure if the two people with her are her security or some arm candy that she brought along with her. Either way, it's a great photo, and thanks so much, Shelly, for sending that in. Remember, guys, if you have a photo of you cruising and having a great time, we pick a new Facebook group every week to feature, and we feature the best or the funniest ones. So keep posting them, and next week, the photo of the week could be yours. So our show and the ability to bring it to you is helped in large part by Good Memories Travel. Now, when Debbie saw the hard work that we were putting in to bring you all the cruise news and information and to help others, she wanted to help support us. The Good Memories Travel is a full-service travel agency that offers you cash back and incentives that booking direct with the cruise lines just don't get you. Now, why would you pay more for less? It costs nothing to compare a price and see the superior service and extras that you get when you go through Good Memories Travel for your next cruise vacation. They cover all the cruise lines, and if you're a new cruiser, they can even suggest the best ship and cruise to suit your cruising style. So give Debbie a call or visit their website today and see how much easier and cheaper it can be. Debbie can be reached directly at 321-338-2953 or, of course, through their website at goodmemoriestravel.com. And thanks so much for your support of CruiseWeek.tv. St. Thomas was such a beautiful place until Hurricanes Irma and Maria devastated it last year. And the locals and the cruise lines have all been working extremely hard to restore the island back and even make more improvements so that it's better than it ever was before. The cruise lines have started bringing people back to the island, and the sun is once again shining on this tropical paradise. And a lot of you have asked to find out the details on the island and the updates. So we reached out to Jason from ExploreVirginIslands.com on the island to answer your questions and to bring us up to date on what's happening. So welcome to the show, Jason. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Joe. It's good to be here. You guys are great, and thank you, Zach, too, in the background.
Now, I understand you're joining us from Connecticut tonight, and I'm sorry about the extremely chilly weather. It's been very cold here in Florida as well. But let's talk about a little bit about the warmer climate of St. Thomas. So what is it about St. Thomas that really enchants people? Because people ask about this port all the time from us, and they want to hear about it.
I think the beauty has a lot to do with it for sure, and I think that probably the biggest incentive. But I think the reason a lot of people come back is the people and the culture. I find some of the friendliest people that I've met. I've traveled pretty extensively around the world a few times, and I think that the people are, for the most part, some of the friendliest on St. Thomas. There's a tradition that people would say in the mornings, afternoons or evenings, good morning, good morning, good morning 3 times, or good night, good night, good night, instead of good evening 3 times, good afternoon, or good day, good day, good day. And I think just that as an initial example says something about the people. Very welcoming, very friendly, very caring.
That definitely does say a lot about the people and about the culture there. So now, jumping into one of the main things that I think is on everyone's mind, and bringing everyone up to speed. What is the current status of St. Thomas after Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria?
Sure. Well, there has been a lot of work. We just hit 4 months since Irma hit, and we're about to hit 4 months since Maria hit. Um, there was a significant amount of relief and aid, private relief and aid, that came in right away from the beginning, and FEMA came in um, as quickly as they could. I believe some of their workers were already on island beforehand, just in case. We still have a presence. We still have some military Corps of Engineers there helping out. We still have linesmen who have traveled from all over the United States to bring their trucks and their crews down to St. Thomas and the other U.S. Virgin Islands to help restore power. Power has been restored on a lot of St. Thomas. For sure, there are still many parts that do not have power back yet, but I think we're at about 65% or 70%. Personally, I've got electricity back after 75 days after Irma hit. And I have 2 friends that just got power back yesterday and the day before, and then a big portion of my friends over the last 3 weeks we're getting power back. Water, I think somebody had mentioned water earlier. There are a few neighborhoods on island that are that receive their water from the plumbing from WAPA, the Water and Power Authority. However, the majority of the residential neighborhoods work on a cistern. So water is not so much of a big deal anymore, but having clean water was an issue for a while. But we're really good on that now. There are quite a few nonprofits and organizations that have brought in a lot of supplies and a lot of relief and a lot of money. And the majority of them, and I was working with a nonprofit for quite some time, so I do have a little bit of hands-on experience. And what I'm getting at is, I can confidently say that the majority of the island is, while it's still in need of relief and aid, we are considering ourselves in a transition into recovery mode, meaning that, and this is St. Thomas and for the most part St. John, and what that means in recovery mode is that we still do need quite a bit of help from the outside, from the States, but we need money, because a lot of the stores are capable now of stocking and restocking at a fairly quick basis their shelves and their products. And there are quite a few services on St. Thomas available now that weren't 2 months ago. So everybody's asking for money to help purchase goods and services on the island to help everybody, but also to feed the economy, to feed the jobs, to feed those stores. But that being said, it's nothing to be scared of either, because as you guys know probably better than I do, there's quite a few cruise ships coming in and out of port. Maybe not every day, but 5-6 days a week. Some days we've already had, normally Tuesdays and Wednesdays are always our 5 and 6 cruise ship days. And I think this year we've had, since the end of October, I think we've already had 2 or 3 5 cruise ship days. Obviously, they're not as many coming in, but we've been doing pretty well. There are quite a few activities still available. The beaches have been cleaned up. Restaurants are reopening every day. The people are there and anxious and surprisingly and amazingly just as friendly as they were before the hurricanes, if not more. Excited to see new faces.
Wow. Earlier, you had mentioned that you were without power for, what was it, 75 days? That's
In my apartment, right?
yeah, that's quite an extensive time to be without power. And I guess you really don't realize how much you appreciate and how much you take power for granted until you're without it for such a long time. How did you do it?
Um, so my personal experience, I was lucky. I stayed with a friend who lived in his family. We were staying in his family's home, the home that he grew up in, and attached to a commercial sized generator with 3 other homes, or 2 other, excuse me, 1 other home. Um, and so we had to refill with diesel, which was difficult to get. I moved back home about a week after the second hurricane hit us, and shared a small gas powered generator with my neighbor. We really were running a refrigerator and a few fans. I think he was running his air conditioner, and then lights at night. And I left island for about a week, and when I came back, I had my own generator, and it was just back and forth from the gas station every day and a half, filling up that 5-gallon barrel, 5-gallon can. It was nice though. I mean, we saw more stars at night when the lights were out around the neighborhood. It was a little bit noisier with that hum of generators in the neighborhood, but you learn very, very quickly. It's a new hardship, but everywhere, every life, there's always hardships, and the community, we all came together to help each other. Whether it was if we could plug our water pump in to the generator to have running water. Obviously, it wouldn't be hot, but we might have a few friends come over so that they could take showers or maybe do some laundry in the bathtub or in the sink. Cook some meals with each other with gas grills or charcoal grills, or if we had a gas oven or gas stove and the gas can or the didn't flip over or blow away in the hurricane, then we were able to cook, no problem. So everybody, we did it with community, I guess, is the shortened version of the answer you're looking for.
Wow. So now we got some questions that are coming in from Facebook. So I want to get to some of those. So the first one we got is from Dolores Brackens White. She says they had missed the port of St. Thomas because of the hurricane, but she wants to know how the cleanup overall is going down there.
Very well. A lot of the beaches, I'd say the majority of the beaches are cleaned up and safe, and the water has been tested as well, which is great. There are still quite a few homes in need of repairs and restoration, or to be knocked down and start from scratch. There are quite a few other buildings. There's a church I pass by every day that's pretty beat up, unfortunately, but I see people out there in the parking lot moving stuff around and working on it every day or every other day at least. So it's going, but it's slow. We have Home Depot down there. We have quite a few organizations and contracting firms in the States sending containers filled with supplies and filled with building supplies over. So it's good. And then I think that the main focus at the beginning with cleanup was for safety first, obviously, electricity second, and water. But then to some of the primary businesses, and the area surrounding the port was actually the least impacted. Believe it or not, it was flooded, but Havensight is the name of the neighborhood where our port is, where the majority of the cruise ships come in, and they had power back 2 days, 3 days after the first hurricane, because their power lines are underground, whereas the rest of the island has power lines up above where the wind and the tree branches and everything could take it away. So in that sense, we're definitely good to go.
So now, in what ways have the cruise lines helped in the recovery efforts?
Oh, great point. Well, I don't remember the first cruise line. It might have been a Royal Caribbean, but they sent we were working with, so I was working with a few small boats going back and forth from Puerto Rico, and a cruise liner sent a boat over to help to do the same thing that we were doing, but they could fit about 1,500. Originally, I think it was supposed to be 700 people to evacuate. There were quite a few families and just individuals that needed to get off island for whether it was medical, or maybe they had children, or maybe need to get back to school, or newborns, or pregnancies, or sick, or some diabetes. There were some diabetics that need to get off island. It was very difficult to find ice, for example, to keep the insulin cool. So there were quite a few emergencies and quite a few people that needed to evacuate. And there was a cruise ship that came over empty with their crew, and took some evacuees off. Originally, I think it was supposed to be 700. They ended up taking something like 1,500 or 1,800 people. And another one came in and did the same thing a couple of weeks later. But I can't remember which line it was. And I thought that was very generous and great. And then a third cruise ship came shortly after that. And the third ship was there. It was a Bermuda company. And they sat in our other port in Crown Bay up until, I think, they might still be there. They should still be there. And that was docked there for at least 2 months, housing the linesmen and some of the FEMA workers that were down volunteering and helping us to rebuild.
So now we have another question that came in through Facebook. This is from Marianne Macchione Dodge. She wants to know: is cruising to the ports back to normal yet, or is cruising to the ports still limited?
I think it's back to normal. We've 5 ships, or 5 and 6 ships is the max I believe we can take on St. Thomas, and we've had that already.
Wow. So what about the roads and the tourism out of the port? Is that because I hear tourism is starting to become somewhat normal again?
It is. It's getting there slowly. Our day tourism, the cruise shippers, the cruise ship tourism, I'd say is for the most part back to normal, or maybe not the numbers, but our capability is back to normal. We're there. We're ready. The overnight guests, however, some hotels are definitely under renovation or reconstruction. Some hotels that could house tourists might be full of FEMA and aid workers at the moment. And then there are a few hotels that do have vacancies and are ready for tourism. But then, of course, there's Airbnb and some of those other online companies that can help you find a place to stay, and there is availability. But I think in terms of day tourism and cruise ship tourism, we're absolutely ready. The beaches have been cleaned up. A lot of the beach restaurants and bars are opened up again. 2 of the neighborhoods on island that are known for walking around. One is called Red Hook and one is called Havensight. Havensight has all the shops and bars and restaurants. Red Hook is near some beaches and a harbor, and has more bars and restaurants. They're both up and running, and some days full of tourists. Today, I know I was on the phone with a few people that were working at one of the busiest bars on island, and they said they were very busy today.
Excellent. So now, how important would you say it is to visit St. Thomas now that they're in such dire need of? Oh, now that they're in kind of in need of economic help. And
the question was, how can it help?
well, now that St. Thomas is starting to recover a little bit, how the tourism industry was one of their major industries down there. Is that in a way kind of like building back up to help with the recovery efforts? It kind of gets the economy going again there.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, everybody needs to eat. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people like to drink, and that definitely supports that industry. We do have quite a few little mom and pop shop stores and souvenir shops. There's St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The territory of the U.S. Virgin Islands is a tax-free shopping territory for everything from tobacco and liquor to clothing to diamonds to bracelets and whatever else you might want. So all of those shops are wide open, and yeah, that's feeding quite a few jobs and definitely putting money back in to the economy for us. So it's definitely helping, for sure. We all see it and appreciate it.
So now you were on the island of St. Thomas during the actual hurricanes, both Irma and Maria. What was it like being on the islands during the hurricanes?
It was surreal. This was not my first hurricane season, but it was my first hurricane. So I was one of the skeptics, to be honest. Everybody for the last few seasons, whenever a storm was getting close to us, everybody's made jokes about it. Said, let's have a hurricane party. Let's go to one of the outdoor bars and hang out together and watch it pass by and sit in the winds. But this one was, 2 days before. Home Depot is overloaded and running out of wood to cover the windows. And so I actually left my home and went to somebody else's who had hurricane shutters, and it's a good thing I did because his shutters were designed for 250 mile an hour winds and above. And the first hurricane we hit 225 miles an hour. It was raining, and before it got dark, we were outside, and everything looks normal and beautiful. And actually, it was a really clear and nighttime. I believe the first one was overnight. It was late afternoon and overnight, so 12 hours later we were able to and capable of walking back outside safely, and it was a completely different world. I mean, there's no green on any of the trees, no green on any of the bushes. things had shifted, that roads were blocked, telephone poles were down. Luckily, it was morning, so we did have 8-10 hours of daylight to adjust to it. But during, there was a lot of pressure inside the building. The windows were kind of moving. I don't know how, just pushing in and out. And at one point, I believe the couple upstairs from us said that they spent 3 hours standing against their sliding glass doors, holding them, pushing them forward, hoping that they wouldn't blow up or blow into the apartment, which I think was silly because glass would have blown into their faces. But yeah, it was a little scary. The second one, depending on who you are or where you were, the eye was a little bit further from us. I think it was something like 20 miles away or 10 miles away. I mean, it still hit us pretty badly, but we were ready for it. I think I slept through. We had a few drinks that evening, and I think I slept through the hardest part of it. But yeah, the first one was pretty freaky.
With all the strong wind and all the noise the hurricane was causing outside, were you ever scared?
Yes and no. We were more concerned about scooping up the water in his parents' house where we were staying to keep the apartment from flooding. I think if I had been by myself, then yes, absolutely. But I had it better than others. I have a friend who had to switch rooms in her apartment 2 or 3 times. The last time was her to the bathroom to hug the toilet, to hold onto the toilet while the walls were ripping off the house and blowing away into the sky. She had to make a last second decision and sprint into the storm down the stairs around the building to get into the downstairs unit of her neighbors. She knew that there were a few people in there. And it's a good thing she did because those bathroom walls came down shortly thereafter. So we got lucky. I think the island is very mountainous, and it depends on which side, if you're on the north side or the south side, and which side of the mountain that you happen to live on, or any mountain that you happen to live on, which direction you're facing when the storm blew through and came in. And we got lucky where I was, but not so many people were.
So now, with all the storm going on outside, so you have Hurricane Irma, and you stayed there through Maria as well. Why did you decide to stay rather than evacuate with Irma? And then after Irma, why did you stay through Maria as well?
My father's in the background and just said, "Good question." I'm not sure. I didn't think it would be so bad the first time, and I guess we knew the second one wasn't. We assumed the second wouldn't be, and we were right with that at least. But after the first one, I run this business, ExploreVirginIslands.com, and we also manage a Facebook group called What's Going on St. Thomas. And the person who started it, Harold, it had been a big source for everybody on island to find everything from what bars are doing specials today to I need a mechanic to fix my car, where should I go get my haircut, best steak on island. And it's always been kind of the source for that. And we took over, or we merged, and I happened to be at the time the only person who had cell phone service after the first hurricane hit, and that group blew up into a source for people in the States to reconnect, to find their missing family members on St. Thomas, to figure out where to send money, how to send money, where to send supplies. And it grew from, I think, a couple days before Hurricane Irma hit, I think there was something like 33,000 members, and now we're at 62,000 members. And so I had, I guess, an opportunity. People were writing in, asking questions, and we ended up using that site to run evacuations, bring in supplies, bring in aid workers, bring in medicine, and also evacuate people and pets to Puerto Rico. We're doing trips back and forth. And for the most part, using this group and also using the group to update with government announcements and just various services that were available and where, and FEMA distributions of MREs and water. So I guess being able to do that for those 2 weeks, I never really thought to leave. And when we heard Maria was coming, it was pretty much too late. I sent my last my last evacuation boat back to Puerto Rico, and they weren't coming back. The other 2 or 3 boats that that we were using for overflow, they weren't coming back either. They were all tying up in Puerto Rico. There were obviously no commercial flights coming in around. I didn't happen to have any connections with private planes, and I guess we just figured if we could brave one, we could brave the other, and we did.
Wow. Wow. That's quite an impressive tale that you told there. So we have another. I got a question that came in from Facebook from Valerie Palmer. She wants to know. She'll be there in February. Is there anything that you would suggest or recommend that they bring other than money to help out with their efforts?
Oh, to help out. Adult diapers, children diapers, feminine products. Trying to think what else, where else we were struggling. We just did a few toy drives. I think we were good there. Children's, maybe some clothes for children. Definitely not adults. We definitely have a surplus of donated clothing for adults. Shoes for children. Little pants for toddlers and shirts for toddlers.
Okay. And we got another one from Marianne Macchione Dodge. She says, well, he said that you guys need money down there. Well, how and where can people donate?
Sure. There's quite a few organizations and nonprofits working down there. I've learned that quite a bit about corporations and private companies here in the States that would like to donate but need to donate to 501c3 rated charities. And so for the sake of a longer story, I'll list a few that are very good, that I know 100% of the money is going towards relief and aid efforts in the VIs. They are localized, and those are Perfect Heart. The website for that, they're new, so they have a temporary website up. It's perfectheartinc.org is a good one. Another one is the Family Resource Center, and I believe their website is frcvi.org, but it's the Family Resource Center in St. Thomas. And another one would be My Brother's Workshop, but I'm not sure. I think they have a donation link on their site or on their Facebook page. I don't believe they're 501c3 rated, though.
Okay, very good. So now, Jason, with all that's been happening down there, is there any time that when do you think a full recovery is going to be estimated for the cleanup and for everything?
I think we'll be ready. Full recovery would be tough to say. Some of the biggest resorts are using this as an opportunity to knock down and renovate and rebuild, or to renovate extensively. The Marriott, for example, is one. They don't expect to reopen for a long time, but there are quite a few smaller hotels and smaller resorts. So I would say in the next few months we'll be ready for overnight, for loads and loads of overnight guests to come in, and then at probably about a year and a half, we'll be back to normal.
Also, Bird wanted me to make sure that we touched on this. He wanted me to ask you about your tours and when you're going to be up and running again.
Our website?
Yes.
Our
your
tours.
tours.
We advertise for the tours, but a few of them are already up and running. Island Buddy is run by my buddy Duncan. That's a great one. Jeep tours, actually, privatized Jeep tours. He'll ask you where you want to go. If you don't know, he'll ask you what you're into, what you're interested in or curious about, and he'll set something up based on your interests. And if you don't know and you just want him to take you to his favorite places, he'll do that too. And that's a great little one. He's got a bunch of guys that drive these Jeeps around. And then there's a bunch of taxi guys too, right in the port area that would take them around. And then all of the Moffley Hotel is a great little hotel overlooking the harbor, and they can organize tours for you too, and they're back up and running. And then the most fun, I think, just me, I love being on the water, are the day charters. and these guys take people around the island or to other islands back and forth, and they give you tours that way. They'll even pull up to a few different beaches with restaurants and bars and kind of give you that little tour as well. And Island Star Charters is a great one, and Caribbean Blue is another great one.
So where are some of the best spots on the island?
Sure, yeah. I would say, I mean, even if you don't like to snorkel, Koki Beach is one of the absolute best for snorkeling, but it's also one of the most beautiful beaches. One of my another favorite of mine is Secret Harbor. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little harbor. Also happens to have great snorkeling. And Megan's Bay is one of the world's most popular beaches, or so we've been ranked in a few travel magazines. Not such a great place for snorkeling, but the water is so calm. The bay is about a mile wide and probably half a mile long. So it's just flat, calm, crystal clear blue water with a very long white beach. And I think since the storms, I know they rebuilt a bar on one side of the beach while they're rebuilding the original. So I think there might be some overlap, and there might be two bars and restaurants on the beach at the moment while they finish up renovations. But that beach is gorgeous too, and big. Can fit a lot of people. I think my first time on that beach about 3.5 years ago, there were only 3 or 4 cars in the parking lot, but about 1,000 or 2,000 people on the beach, and I couldn't figure out why. And it was a 5 cruise ship day, so it was just packed with people. But it didn't even seem like that many until I walked all the way down the beach. So despite the size, despite the amount of people, it didn't feel crowded, which was really nice.
So now we have one question that came in from Facebook. This one's from Jerry Keys. She says, "Do you know of any tours in the area that are good for people who with disabilities or people confined to wheelchairs?"
Yes, there are definitely some, and I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I can definitely find out. And
Uh-oh. Oh, oh, I think we're a little I think we're frozen right now, Jason. I'm not. Oh, no, don't know if you can hear me. Um, oh, he dropped off. Oh, it looks like our guest had a little bit of a bad connection. Maybe, hopefully, he can maybe rejoin us, and if he does, we'll continue the interview. But in the meantime, we'll have to cut it a little short otherwise, and we'll have to move on with the show. So moving on. So this cruise show and all the wonderful abilities that we have to bring in guests remotely, like Jason, wouldn't be possible at the level that we do it without vMix. Now, vMix is the live production software that powers our live show and many, many other high-end productions, from church services to football games. More and more live productions are running on vMix. And what our producer, Bird, really liked when he was trying to improve our show was that they give you a full 60-day trial of everything. That way, you get to test it out risk-free before you buy for a full 2 months, and then they have systems starting at just $350 all the way up to $1,500, depending on your production requirements. Now, if you're going to do any sort of serious live streaming, you need vMix. So try it for free at vmix.com today. So it's the first week of 2018, and the first news coming out, of course, is the super cold weather that we've even been having down here in Florida. I know those of you up north might not believe it, but it has been. And how will this affect the cruise ports? Well, let's find out in our cruise news. Winter Storm Grayson hit the U.S. East Coast during the first week of January, and while no cruise ports are closed at this time, it has affected some cruise ship schedules. The storm began on Wednesday, January 3rd, in the southeast U.S., with snow falling in parts of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. It moved up the coast overnight, intensifying because of bombogenesis, a meteorological effect that occurs when cold air from land meets warm air over the ocean, and arrived mid-Atlantic and New York on Thursday, January 4th. The biggest issue with cruise ships has been in New York City. Cunard's Queen Mary delayed leaving Red Hook Terminal in Red Hook for a day. Originally scheduled to arrive January 5th in the morning and depart again on its next cruise that day, Norwegian Breakaway will arrive at the port of Manhattan later than normal and did not depart until today at 3 p.m. Passengers who did get to New York on Friday were able to board between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., and the line is giving cruisers a refund for the missed day in the form of an onboard credit. A new itinerary will also be released for the adjusted sailing, the line said. Now, I don't know about you guys, but all this snow in Florida, I'm not so sure about global warming lately. Lately, it's been more like global freezing with all these cold temperatures. I seriously can't wait for it to warm up again, especially since being in Florida, it's supposed to be summer all year round here. Let's see. Our favorite comedian, Lucas Bunn, has finished Christmas at home with his family and is back on the ships again. And this week is on the Norwegian Epic, and he brings us the New Year's Eve countdown on the ship. Lucas, thank you so much for sending that video in. I know that we all love seeing those peeks behind the curtain and seeing what's happening in the crew quarters, and we look forward to more of that in 2018. And guys, it looks like Jason was able to reconnect with us. I think let me see, Bird, do we have feed? Oh, there we are. Jason, welcome back to the show. It looks like is he cutting out again? All right, there we are. Jason, are you with us? Jason? Oh, I'm not sure he can hear us. Oh, the joys of running a live production. Jason? Hello, Jason, are you there? I don't think he can hear. I don't think Jason can hear us too well. We're having some technical difficulties. We'll try to come back to Jason in just a little bit, but for now, we'll move on to our history segment, which, if you've never been to Honolulu, this week's history segment is all about Honolulu. Now, Honolulu is the most remote city of its size in the world and is the westernmost major U.S. city. Honolulu means sheltered harbor or calm port. Evidence of the first settlement of Honolulu by the original Polynesian migrants to the archipelago comes from oral histories and artifacts. Now, these indicate that there was a settlement where Honolulu now stands in the 11th century. However, after Kamehameha I conquered Oahu in the Battle of Nuuanu and at Nuuanu-Pali, he moved his royal court from the island of Hawaii to Waikiki in 1804. His court relocated in 1809 to what is now downtown Honolulu. The capital was moved back to Kailua Kona in 1812. In 1794, Captain William Brown of Great Britain was the first foreigner to sail into what is now Honolulu Harbor, and more foreign ships followed, making the port of Honolulu a focal point for merchant ships traveling between North America and Asia. In 1845, Kamehameha III moved the permanent capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom from Lahaina to Maui to Honolulu. He and the kings that followed him transformed Honolulu into a modern capital, erecting buildings such as St. Andrew's Cathedral, Lolani Palace, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, I can't say it right, Alilani Hale. Alilonihale. At the same time, Honolulu became the center of commerce in the islands, with descendants of American missionaries establishing major businesses in downtown Honolulu. Despite the turbulent history of the late 19th century and early 20th century, such as the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy in 1893, Hawaii's subsequent annexation by the United States in 1898, followed by a large fire in 1900, and the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Honolulu remained the capital, largest city, and main airport and seaport of the Hawaiian Islands. As of 2015, Honolulu was ranked high on world livability ratings and was also ranked as the second safest city in the U.S. It is also the most populated Oceanian city outside of Australasia and ranks second to Auckland, New Zealand, as the most populous city in Polynesia. All right, Bert is telling me that we have Jason back with us. Jason, can you hear us all right now?
Yes, I think St. Thomas followed me to Connecticut
Oh my,
with
yeah.
this service.
Well, if only the St. Thomas weather could have followed you too, and it could have brought some of that with us as well. I can't imagine it being this cold in St. Thomas, but then again, I guess people can't imagine
No.
it being this cold in Florida some days too. So now where
Sorry
did we
about
leave
that.
off? Um,
Um,
Let me see. Well, I can take some questions in from. We have some more questions in from Facebook if you're back and ready to answer some more.
let's do it, please.
All right, wonderful. So now we have another one in from Valerie Palmer. She wants to know how about an address to mail supplies in?
Oh, ooh, I can take those, or I can give you an address with a nonprofit, but I'm not sure that they are receiving any more supplies. If you'd like, I can give you my P.O. box for sure. Just please, we are again asking for, I think Valerie was the same girl that asked earlier to clarify if we take supplies, which supplies. So 6501 Red Hook Plaza, Suite 201, St. Thomas, VI 00802. And you can use my name and put a hyphen after my name and just say aid or relief.
Excellent. So now we have another one question from Cherise Colley. She wants to know: do the donations go to St. Thomas, or were they shared with the U.S. Virgin Islands?
They are shared with the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico for if donated to Perfect Heart. It is a shared effort. Perfect Heart is a disaster relief and recovery nonprofit. My family, the Family Resource Center, I believe everything stays on St. Thomas with a little bit. I think they do share. Yes, they do with St. John, which is a mile and a half away at most, and then St. Croix a little bit too, which is 40 miles away, and also U.S.
Excellent. So you mentioned earlier your favorite thing about St. Thomas was the culture, right? The way that the people are so friendly and how they treat you there.
Yes, I think it's a great place to. I wouldn't have moved there if the people weren't so great, so wonderful.
Well, now, one thing that I want to know, like since St. Thomas was hit by some really hard hurricanes this year, what are some efforts that are being made to prevent future damage? Obviously, they're rebuilding a lot. So, are they redoing the infrastructure there to make it stronger for maybe future hurricane seasons?
I'm not as in tune, but yes, obviously there definitely has been some talk. I think putting the power lines underground is a big one, and one that I believe they intend to do in the future. But first, the focus was on restoring 100% power before they move in that direction. Yes, I believe that some of the resorts and some of the buildings that were affected will be putting on stronger roofs and, if possible, building stronger foundations. But I don't know what else. I'm sure that there'll be some plans in the works to ensure that should this happen again, supplies and relief can get to us quicker, and into certain neighborhoods that might have been waiting a little while too long, get into those neighborhoods faster. There was a curfew in effect after the first hurricane to keep people off the roads so that emergency vehicles and trucks and workers could get through and clear the roads and get to where they needed to go. I'm sure that they might reenact a curfew again next time, maybe even for a little bit longer to get things up and running faster. But yeah, I can't speak too much more about that, but it's definitely necessary. There definitely needs to be some changes if we get hit again.
Excellent. And Jason, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the show tonight. It was very informative, and it's I know we had some technical difficulties in there, but before we wrap up tonight's show and wrap up the interview and then wrap up tonight's show, we'd like to know if you will tell our audience about the web link for the tours that you offer on the Virgin Islands website.
Yeah, please. We are the go-to tourism and activities website. ExploreVirginIslands.com. We do separate, but we have a whole bunch of boat charters. We even have some fishing charters. There's we're working on we just relaunching, just like a lot of businesses on island, but there's some hotels and places to stay. We are partnered up with What's Going on St. Thomas, which is also a great resource to and that's a Facebook group, and it's a great resource to ask questions. We also advertise quite a few shops and restaurants and bars and fitness centers, and even a wonderful chiropractor and some yoga, scuba diving, and then always we have my email address is jason@explorevirginislands.com, or you can email info@ and ask me any questions. I can pair you up with somebody that can plan your trip for you, or you can plan it yourself through the site and through some of the businesses that we advertise. And I do appreciate you guys for putting me on, and I hope that I was able to answer a lot of questions for you.
Well, Jason, we appreciate having you on the show, and you were certainly able to answer a lot of our questions, and you gave us a lot of really good information. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight with us. And that just about brings another show to a close. Now, guys, if you know someone who's going to enjoy watching the show as much as you do, be nice and share the link to their Facebook wall. That way they too can enjoy. Also, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook pages. Just doing that alone really helps show our sponsors the support that we have, and it helps keep the show alive each week. Plus, you get entered into some great cruise swag drawings. So we all know that everyone wants to be entered into that. So thanks for our support from RC Periscopers Group, Cruise and Cat, and Ken Jarvis. Also, Matt is going to be back with Shally next week, and he's mostly thawed out from his trip up north. Also, don't forget the Cruise Midweek Social on Wednesdays, only on Facebook at facebook.com/CruiseWeekTV, or Reality Float, is it? Reality Float, where you get to join producer Bird and Matt as they informally chat with you and answer all of your questions about cruising. That's going to be Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Until next time, I'm Joe, and we'll see you on the ships, guys.